Hi, my name is Casey McMullen. I'm going to be doing an overview of the DSM-5 diagnostic criteria for gender dysphoria in children. We begin with A, which is a marked incongruence between one's experienced/expressed gender and assigned gender of at least 6 months duration as manifested by at least 6 of the following. Just to note, an incongruence meaning that there is a potentially unpleasant feelings resulted from a discrepancy in a person, or in this case a child's perceived self and their actual self. So this reviewing the 6 following criteria. Number 1, a strong desire to be of the other gender, or an insistence that one is the other gender, or some alternative gender different from one's assigned gender. Number 2, in boys of the assigned gender male, a strong preference for cross-dressing or simulating female attire, or in assigned gender female, a strong preference for wearing only typical masculine clothing and a strong resistance to the wearing of typical feminine clothing, such as dresses, skirts, high heels. Number 3, a strong preference for cross-gender roles in make-believe play or fantasy play. So when a young boy might dress up in dresses, etc. Number 4, a strong preference for the toys, games, or activities stereotypically used or engaged in by the other gender. So this is, an example would be when a little boy prefers to play with dolls, or a little girl prefers to play with toy trucks, both of which dolls typically girls play with, and boys more commonly play with toy trucks. Number 5, a strong preference for playmates of the other gender. Number 6, in boys of the assigned gender male, a strong rejection of typically masculine toys, games, and activities, and a strong avoidance of rough and tumble play. Or in assigned gender female, a strong rejection of typically feminine toys, games, and activities. Number 7, a strong dislike of one's sexual anatomy. Number 8, a strong desire for the primary and or secondary sex characteristics that match one's experienced gender. So that could be a young boy having the desire, as you know, going through puberty, having the desire to have breasts, just as an example. Moving on to B, the second condition is associated with clinically significant distress or impairment in social, school, or other important areas of functioning. Specifically, or you would want to specify if with a disorder of sex development, such as a congenital adrenogenital disorder, or congenital adrenal hyperplasia, or androgen insensitivity syndrome. It's important to note when coding as a clinician the disorder of sex development as well as gender dysphoria. Moving on to gender dysphoria in adolescents and adults. A states that there is a marked incongruence between one's experienced/expressed gender and assigned gender. It's the same as in a child. It needs to be at least 6 months duration as manifested by at least 2 of the following. Number 1, a marked incongruence between one's experienced/expressed gender and a primary and or secondary characteristics. in young adolescents, the anticipated secondary sex characteristics. Number 2, a strong desire to be rid of one's primary and or secondary sex characteristics because of a marked incongruence with one's experienced or expressed gender, or in young adolescents, a desire to prevent the development of the anticipated secondary sex characteristics. So my example earlier, with a young boy wanting or having a desire to grow breasts. Similarly, it could be for a woman who already has breasts, to not want them and to perhaps compress them, or just to create an illusion that they are not there, to help feel better about it. Number 3, a strong desire for the primary and or secondary sex characteristics of the other gender. Number 4, a strong desire to be of the other gender or some alternative gender different from one's assigned gender. And number 5, a strong desire to be treated as the other gender or some alternative gender different from one's assigned gender. So for adults, there needs to be at least 2 of these criterion to be considered for gender dysphoria.